This video contains clips from the Over 65 World Cup in Cape Town 2024. The focus here is on the W. Each clip has its own commentary with some pointers. The overall conclusion is that no matter how well we set up the W, it won't always work. But if we do not all commit to it, it has very little chance of success. If it is clear they're going to attempt an aerial, then the centre midfield has to drop deeper and work with the centre back in filling the aerial channels. There's also the question of when to rotate and when to glide across. The three governing principles are: 1. When the hit is in the middle, then it's probably going to be a rotation. 2. When the hit is on one side and it is switched to the other side, then it's probably going to be a rotation. 3. When the hit is on one side and the ball stays on that side, then it's probably a glide. Enjoy the video. Feedback, as always, is welcome. The rotation just didn't happen and the ball goes to where the disengaged forward should have been. The corner is over. We just never get into a good shape. David doesn't commit, but luckily ended up in a good place. Willie doesn't come across. Keith doesn't rotate into centre half as this play develops. Henry gets to inside left, but I've no idea what Budgie's doing as David has that under control. We try to set up the W, but Willie and Keith don't commit, and the very ball we don't want happens. Everyone now has a 25-metre sprint. The W won't work every time, but there's no chance if we don't all commit to it. We have a long time to get set up, but the front three are all the wrong distance apart. David reacts well to the quick free, getting across, but Budgie doesn't come the whole way, and Robert, Cliff and Andy are watching the play develop. We need to react much more quickly. Free hit is given. Two of our forwards don't even start to get involved for around 10 seconds and end up in the wrong place. So the Italians are able to play it back and around. David and Budgie at least make an effort to get across the pitch, but the other two forwards don't bother. We have the ball here and we end up getting into the circle and getting a shot off. This gives us another chance to set up the W. It's going to be in the middle, so we should be happy to keep it narrow and be prepared to rotate across. Cliff should become the centre player, leaving David to pick up the wide man in this scenario. However, Cliff tries to mark the line to the wing, which is David's, and leaves a huge gap into the middle of the pitch. Robert comes off his man to try and close the ball down. It goes straight to where he would have been if Cliff had been in the right place. The ball is going off in the corner, so an ideal opportunity to set again. Budge is a little wide, but Keith takes a more aggressive approach, which forces the aerial, which they fluff. Unfortunately, Keith cannot control it. Even the Netherlands can be made to feel the pressure. A good attempt by the three forwards to create a triangle of pressure. They almost get the ball. If we'd been in W formation, that ball would have gone straight to where our midfielder would have been. We don't set up the W correctly and they're able to play the ball through. Not sure whether forward is allowed to pick that up, as he should be front marked. We are very slow to set up. We get the chance to set again, but are far too slow to get across, and the forwards do not come across and create a triangle. Our first reaction must be to sprint across to where the play is and set up the W quickly. We're a bit slow at getting set up for their hit, and when the ball goes to left back, the rotation doesn't work. Andy is supposed to be pressing the ball. Robert should be stopping the inside pass, with Richard cutting the pitch and Cliff filling in as left mid. There's a conversation between Robert and Budgie on where to be. Eventually they reach a compromise, although Alan seems to be too close to Robert. The front of the W needs to be a straight line. The slope of this depends on where the ball is. Here Robert needed to be slightly higher. We set up a good W. The rotation isn't all it should be, but Richard's in the right place and we get a good chance. Right idea in the pass, much more like it. Budgie chases this and gets there early, but Willie seems to have an issue with going high to stop the backing around. But we eventually get there. Their player has no real options from where he is, and this forces them to throw an aerial. Alan and Jimmy are in close proximity to the two players, but neither reacts. Alan could have taken responsibility for the man running behind and allowed the W to be a 5-man one. A good W forces them to do an aerial, which we pick, so it's not just the front 5 who need to be on their toes. Henry is too close to Cliff and should be more into the pitch, otherwise not a bad setup for the W, which forces them to throw the aerial. Here we should have gone for a 5-man press with the centre half dropping back to pick up the aerial. Ball is going off in the corner, so an ideal opportunity to get the press set. Budgie is moving very wide, leaving Keith with a huge gap, but comes in at the end. Andy is perfectly placed. This forces the aerial. Richard has done the perfect thing this time, leaving a 5-man W and taking responsibility for the free man in the middle of the park. Excellent work. The front line of the press is nicely set up. They throw the aerial straight to Jimmy, who is front marking. Robert is too wide and not high enough up the pitch, so backing around would be an option for them. They tried to force it through the gap between the forwards and go straight to our midfielder as designed. Not quite there, but sufficient pressure to make a weak side give us the ball. Our shape is all wrong. However, when they play the ball, we end up with a pretty good rotation because we started out in the wrong places and we get the ball. Budgie should have been higher. David should have been much closer. Robert should have been a little wider with Andy in the gap. We hit the ball into the corner and follow up with a good W. They hit the ball straight to Alan. This is what we're looking to achieve. We start the second half with a good press, and Jimmy front marking, as agreed, picks up the hopeful clearance. It's really important everyone switched on. Good shape forced him to play the ball to left half. Robert should leave the ball carried to Andy. David is a little too far away. Jimmy front marks as designed and picks up the ball easily. We get this W set up much better this time, and we pressurise them into trying to crash the ball, which they hit over the sideline. Much more like it. We look to have won the ball, and the advantage of the shape is a bit of good fast break with the 2v1. David makes a great supporting run. The W creates these kind of chances. I think the pass is a better option there. Henry wins the ball from the head out and dribbles it forward. Not the most accurate of passes, but the defender goes down and Robert is in hand to win a short corner. When we win the ball here, it creates great attacking opportunities. We get a good setup and the pressure tells. I like it. Willie sets up higher, which puts doubt in the defender's mind. Henry and Budgie close in as a team. Budgie steals the ball, but unfortunately Henry misses the target. Hopefully it's becoming clear that pressing the defenders in a coordinated way will pay dividends. We set up a good W. The rotation isn't all it should be, as Keith is too deep and doesn't roll across, but Richard, as the spare man, gets to where Keith should have been, and a good offload to Budgie brings the opening goal. Not much more to say really.